Hi guys, it's Sarah with Grassroots Evolution Tarot, and I'm here to bring you a message from our ancestors. I was really guided to bring this today. I hope you've all had a wonderful month. I hope that going into February, you guys are excited for what this month holds and that you're already starting to feel kind of a lighter new energy. So before I get into the cards, I just want to say for all my subscribers, I love you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being here. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you feel like this resonates and you'd like to see more, please hit subscribe, join the journey with me. I'd like to have you along this ride. So I'm going to also take a moment to call in my team of light, Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, Archangel Gabriel, as well as any of your spirit guides that would be here for the highest good of the entire collective. I ask them to join us to guide, guard, bless, and protect myself, this reading, and any of you who would ask for it, as well as to use me as the clearest channel possible, delivering messages that are for the most far-reaching, but again, for the highest good of all of us watching. No second-rate messages today. So what I have first off here today is the Shaman's Oracle. So I wanted to bring you guys some spiritual advice that our ancestors would like us to know right now. That wants to flip out, so I'm going to take it, and I'm going to try and get two more. What I just heard was we're in a time of profound change and profound changes. So what I also heard is this could be around the world for some of us, and hopefully we're not around all of this, but for some of us, dancer beginnings showed themselves to me. For some of us, this could show itself in kind of catastrophic ways in terms of like global events and things like that. But this is the earth shifting as it's done before. There's a few things, okay? So they're already coming at me with the polarities, like the magnetic poles are shifting as well, which I think a lot of the weather changes and stuff like that, their spirits like that can also kind of be accounted for in this, but that this is not just about catastrophic things, but they wanted me to say that just because I think a lot of us see this kind of thing, and some people with lower spiritual mentality, I think those are the words I'm going to use, could look at it and go, oh, like God's punishing us for all these things. And this is not spirit punishing. This is just the way that changes are made. The thing is, like, I'm hearing earthquakes and the way that tectonic plates are shifting. This has been happening since the beginning of time. The earth is supposed to shift. If I'm also hearing like volcanoes and things like this, that the earth needs to be able to move. And what I also heard is release some pressure so it's not going to completely explode. This is the same thing with some of us, that we're going to need to, or most of us, we're going to need to find a healthy outlet to release some of our pent-up anger, frustration, or some of us rage, the stuff that's boiling under the surface. So we also in our worlds need to allow these plates to shift and create the changes. And for some of us, they may begin with some sort of event that we perceive as catastrophic or we look at as life-changing. And what I heard is after this, it's still important to roll with the punches. We're still alive. We're still on this earth. We need to move with it accordingly and according to the changes that have happened. And what Spirit's already coming at me with before I get into these cards is the term radical acceptance. Accepting that what has happened, and unfortunately we can't change it, but what we need to do is figure out how we're going to live in the world that we now have and how we can create a new world for ourselves and positive change in this one. So the Dancer of Beginnings is absolutely beautiful that it's come out here. We also have the Dancer of Friendship. For some of you, you know, these shifts and these changes will be within your friend circle. For some of you, like, the catastrophicness could be that we are ending certain friendships because they're no longer in line with our own personal development. They're no longer in line with our views. For some of you as well, like I heard the words hate group, like you might find that, you know, as you start to shift and as your mental space is changing and as your mentality is changing, you're seeing that some of the people that you've surrounded yourself, they're not as high vibing as you, and they're not the kind of energy that you want to be around, and they don't speak to the narrative that you want to create for yourself. The other one we have here is the Ancestor of Illusion. And what I heard as well is beware of false prophets and false prophecies. Not to put too much stake in, you know, what people think could happen. Because again, this is all speculation. I think this also goes down to, though, with the Dancer of Friendship and the Dancer of Beginnings, that we're looking at illusion. We may have been force-fed things that were not true before. They're giving me an example. On Netflix, there's a show about like the ancient world. I'm trying to remember his name. Graham. Oh, it's eluding me, but he's basically found evidence that before the last ice age, people were not just cavemen. That some of the structures that were erected and some of the knowledge of the stars, this wasn't like Cro-Magnon. This was a very evolved, highly evolved civilizations who had agriculture and who had different things, which archaeologists would say that that's not true because they're not willing to change their canon of information. Okay. So the thing is that even though evidence has been proven that goes against what, the mainstream archaeology community would say, they aren't willing to explore deeper because it would mean that their history books and everything that we've been led to believe up until this point is not true. And I think that there's really importance here with those words fallacy, that we may have been force-fed doctrine and force-fed information throughout our life that we find out it's not true. And this, I think, also for some of you, like I heard like religious cults and things like that. If you think about some of those kids that grow up in these religious cults and they have certain belief systems because they've been force-fed to them. This has been all they've known, and then they get out into the wider world around them and they realize, oh, that wasn't true. That's no longer the doctrine I want to follow, and there's this huge identity crisis that comes with this. So I think that Spirit's saying, first off, choose your friends wisely. Okay, make sure that they're in line with your values as well. So they're giving me an example, okay, like if you have friends that are involved in a hate group and actively, hating on people, and that's not you, this is the place for you to go, well, that energy isn't something I would like around me, and to kind of cutting ties with that. So I want to see here, this Dancer of Beginnings is also, I think, coming to us to remind us that we want to make sure that whatever we're starting, whatever foot we're putting forward, we're doing it in truth. We're not doing it in a place of illusion. We are, for some of you guys, I heard like you're the whistleblowers. You're the ones that are going to uncover the truth, and you're the ones that are going to show the world. For a lot of us that are these whistleblowers, people may not want to hear you right away. Much like this show, I'm trying to remember what it's called. I'll have to pin it in the comments after. But much like that show, he has written, he's a journalist, and he's written a lot of books. If any of you guys go into the spirituality sections and chapters, he's written some books about aliens and, like just different things like that. And he's gotten a lot of flack for being a journalist, not a historian, and all of this stuff. But what he's uncovering, he's also consulting with other people in the areas and finding a lot of pre-Ice Age things from all over the globe that have a lot in common. So there could be truth that needs to be uncovered, and I feel like this is going to be really important for you to get your back straight and stand up to the people who say that's not true, and go, well, this is definitely a teaching, this is a doctrine, but we need to allow ourselves to see there could be a possibility for something else. So I do want to look at the bottom of the deck, which is the Shaman of Reflections, and I think that this is really important too because there's a lot of healing that can happen here. A lot of healing that can happen in our reflections, and I feel like some of us, we may be looking in the mirror and realizing again that what we've held true about ourselves or who we think that we've been has been informed and educated by a false doctrine or false belief system. And as well as we are kind of reflecting on our own personal life, our actions, our beliefs, our thoughts, our friends, our family members, and all of this stuff, and what we'd like to leave in the past and what we'd like to kind of ramp up coming into a new cycle, this gives us a lot of power and a lot of healing. And Spirit's saying, you know what, you want to dance, you want to experience joy, you want to get moving, you want to do things that are good for your body, that are good for your soul, and that come in truth. So they want me to read to you, if I can find the book, a little bit of the ancestor of illusion. And it says, illusion can often trap us very easily. We are only too willing to become ensnared because the truth is something we would find uncomfortable. The ancestor of illusion, here represented by its opposite, the tranquil image of the gazelle drinking from the waters of truth, serves to teach us the folly of such willful self-deception. Wow. The truth is always available to anyone who is patient enough to stalk it. With this ancestor stepping elegantly by our side, we are led to recognize the beauty of truth and the deceptive character of falsehood. Once we achieve this insight, we will never opt for delusions again. So this also speaks of presence of false images, distractions, truth that pierces superficiality, return to reality, recognizing true friends, and acknowledging illusion. So I think as well what I was hearing about, like, while I was reading that, Nazi Germany kind of came to mind as well, like acknowledging fallacies, and this would be like in many different scenarios, okay, but right away it was the dehumanizing of certain populations, Jewish people, yes, but there was a lot of other people, right, homosexuals, gypsies, you name it. And I think the thing with this is that this is an othering, right? An acceptance of this false narrative that says that, well, this makes us better, and this allows us to dehumanize, and this allows us to eradicate. And I think that there's real importance in kind of looking at and reflecting on history in this way too, because for some of us as well, this is our ancestors, or this is stuff that's been taught to us, and it's time to look at it and go, no, that's not true. This gives no excuse for dehumanizing certain populations or, you know, genocide or whatnot. Like, there's a lot in this message, and I apologize if it seems choppy. I feel like there's a lot of confusion, and this is because, again, the truths that we may be seeing might be uncomfortable, or they may be catastrophic to our belief system. I mean, again, going down with Nazi Germany, many of this that was catastrophic, right? The entire World War was catastrophic, but this was done under illusion. What had happened to those people, and what had happened to the German population, what had happened to the surrounding countries, until the war was over and those camps were liberated, nobody knew about them. They thought they were work camps. And the thing is, I think this is where sometimes things take time, as well as for some of you guys, I heard, again, with these hate crimes, war tribunal, there could be also, what's the word? War crimes. Somebody around you, or there could be just, you know, politically that there has been someone or a group of people basically found guilty of war crimes. I think that it's important as well, whether this is really true war, or if this is standing up for our belief systems, because if you know something to be true and you see through the fallacy, we have an opportunity and also an obligation to speak the truth. It doesn't mean everyone's going to believe us, but I think you're going to have some powerful friends along the way that are going to help you out with this stance. So I want to move on before I get into the Dragon Tarot. I brought the Earth Magic Oracle, and how can we help ground ourselves in this new beginning, please? You got New Moon Promise, which I really love that this came out with the Dance of Beginnings. And this speaks about a promise. If you see, there's a couple down here looking at the moon coming up. The sun is setting in the sky. It's quite a tranquil and romantic time. And I think that this is also saying that we need to watch the end of the day. I'm getting a song again and playing in my mind, and I've done a reading on it but it's called The Shadow of the Day by Linkin Park, and it says the sun will set for you, but pay attention when the sun goes down to what was lurking in the dark, what was hiding in the dark. And this doesn't necessarily mean it's negativity, okay? It's just that the moon often represents something that's been hidden from us, or some truth coming to light. And it's time, it's coming to light. So you also have solitude, and I feel like for some of you, this would be, you may have spent a lot of time in solitude, especially if some of the illusions that have been coming up are regarding your social circle, and you're seeing that, these people really aren't for me. They don't really have my back. They don't respect me. I don't share the same views with them. And just kind of going, okay, well, this is a real sitting in silence. The thing about this card with solitude is they want to show, like the book discusses, that even though there's not a whole lot in this island, this tree is blooming. This tree is full of life. And for some of you, this is where you're learning to thrive, and this is where I keep hearing like you're healing your mentality. So the bottom of the deck here is meadow with vulnerability. And I do think this is important, again, if we're seeing fallacy, if we're seeing illusion. For some of this is fear. We're realizing that some fears we've held, this is an illusion, this is a fallacy, and these fears have served a purpose for someone else. It's kind of like if they're giving me the example, right? If someone tells you that there's monsters in the closet or there's monsters under the bed, so don't get out of your bed, stay in bed because the monsters under your bed will get you. Well, this is some silly control method so that you don't get out of your bed, so that you will conform. And this is where it's like, no, I'm not going to conform anymore. No, I'm not going to be afraid of the feelings that I have. No, I'm not going to be afraid of the truth I have to tell either. Because I do really think that whatever this comes, again, they're saying whistleblower. And that takes a lot of strength. And I also feel like while you are leading up to this, while you are kind of doing the research on this, a lot of alone time is going to be needed. Because also what I heard is, especially if you've been around a group of people or something that really wants to control the narrative. Again, this could be like even gaslighters, people or abusers in our world who, how you're being treated is not right. But every time you confront them about it, they're denying the situation and kind of crazy making. This is where the more time we spend alone with our vulnerable feelings, and then when we go around them and we realize how we feel, this is not something wrong with us, this is something wrong with them, and it's their projections. And this also, again, reminds us with this ancestor of illusion. Has someone tried to make you feel pretty rotten your whole world? Has someone tried to make you feel terrible? Has someone tried to make you feel worthless or less than? And to look at that, go, that was not true. Never was that true. Never was I unlovable. Never was I unteachable. And never was I unworthy. I was always worthy. And I also heard of divine love, because many of us as well, I think that like we look at it, and if we've been told that we're unworthy, we think we're unworthy of God's love, Spirit's love, and source. And there's also a lot of God blocks that come from this, especially if we've experienced some hard times and a lot of negativity. There is an easier way to say, well, this is a vengeful God. The words are getting, okay? Or that Spirit is vengeful, or this was punishing. And Spirit's saying, no, this is not punishing. Again, this is an illusion. This is something that somebody's told you to keep you in line. So Dancer of Fear is not out here, and I don't believe it's on the bottom. That's the Shaman of Foresight. Right? Having the knowledge to see that if you can see something coming, heed those cues. So before I get into the tarot, I'm also being called, I have here the Sacred Rebels Oracle by Elena Fairchild. Spirit, can you help me with this? Messages for the warrior self here. Because I feel like even though this is an ancestor message, your warrior self is being called into action. Spirit, what message? Thank you. You have Diving for Light and Shock of the New. I feel like some of the people who have known you, they're not going to know this version of you. They're not going to know what to do with this version of you. And people who have in the past put you down, or in the past tried to keep you in the darkness and keep you out of your divinity and keep you out of your light, they're not going to know what to do either. You are armed with great boundaries and a clear vision for the future, an understanding that it's not clouded by fallacy, it's not clouded by illusion, it's clouded by new friggin' promise. And if you look here as well, these sunflowers, you have the power to seed. What I heard is to seed this intention, as well as to speak this truth into being. I do feel like once this truth is out and once you speak this truth, there's no going back. And this is where maybe the solitude, because it's a little frightening to do this. I also feel like for some of you, this could be a YouTube channel that you're starting. This could be something that you're in the public eye that, you know, I gotta admit, for everyone, I had some family members who weren't really happy that I decided years ago that I was going to do this, that tarot was my calling, and that I felt very, very called, like it was like spiritually compelled. It's time. And I kept getting the niggles, I kept getting the pushes, but I ignored them because I was embarrassed to do this. And the thing is that now it's like second nature, but we all need to take that first step, because once you do it once or twice, it's not as scary. As well as, I'll be truthful, for a while there, I felt like if I read the cards, to just go blank. I'd look at the cards and I could get an energy feeling, but it would go blank until I hit record. And this is just practice makes perfect. And I do think that, like, for you, it may take a while for you to get used to this, for you to get used to being heard, but your words are going to play on. Your words are going to create musical symphonies in people's minds. For some of you, this could be music that, you know, you realize that some of the stuff that's happened, you're going to write, you're going to perform, and you're going to allow this to change you in the ways that's needed to. And I definitely feel like with this diving for light, there has been so much darkness around us that this is much like this ancestor illusion, where it says it's showing you the opposite. It's showing you the calm drinking from the water. This here too is saying, you know what, it's like a diamond. Okay, you've had so much pressure on you, it is now time to shine, because all of that pressure has created something unbreakable and has created someone like you who's going to shine. And I also heard is meant for riches. So I have the Dragon Tarot here with me. Just want to show you the book in case you are interested. And we're going to get a little tarot wisdom. Thank you. In the bottom of the deck as well is the moon in reverse with the Seven of Swords. You're not listening to lies. You're not listening to half-truths, and you're not willing to fraternize, I guess, with people who you know are keeping secrets from you. It's a new beginning, new time. So you have the Emperor here, which I do feel like is being very strong in your convictions. The Two of Swords, the Queen of Pentacles, and, funny, the Seven of Wands in reverse. Which to me, that Seven of Wands is going to speak of what I heard as hassles, but this is in the reverse. We're really going to create clarity, because in this case, we are with the moon in reverse. This could be a Cancer, but I also feel like this is not that. This is going, you know what, I'm not going to allow things to be hidden anymore. I think as well, for some of you, for a long time, you may have ignored your intuition as well, or ignored the psychic understandings that you have, and here you're like, no more. Because I think a lot of you have seen what you thought to come into fruition. And I feel like for some of you, this Emperor, most of you, it's you coming into your power. Some of you, this is a male around you who has had some pretty shitty control dynamics, and may have tried to control the narrative around you, around your belief systems, or whenever you say something, they're very quick to put it down. And I do feel like with this Queen of Pentacles, this Two of Swords, I almost feel like it's like there's a refusal to engage, because you've grown. You know this pentacle is yours. You know what you have to offer, and she's very secure in herself as well as protected. This dragon, her dragon, is at her feet, where his dragon is wrapped around him a little bit, and he's almost kind of chained to his chair with this dragon because he's so stuck in his ways. She's protected, and this dragon is just meant to protect her and stay at her feet. For some of you, I feel like I heard your dog or your cat, maybe otherworldly. They are your spirit guide and they're here for you. They're here to protect you as well. And I feel like many of us, we know like our dogs would do anything for us, right? But definitely a time to clear out any confusion that we've had. And if we're seeing obstacles in the way with this shaman of reflection, we're doing our best to remove those obstacles, because my friends, whatever is ahead of for you, it's wonderful and it's full of truth, and that's absolutely great. So with this shaman of foresight, I feel like this is planning ahead. And again, if you feel something's off with a situation, if someone's telling you one thing but you're like, no, I don't believe that, I also feel like for some of you, small group, but especially if it's been romantic, or this emperor, this really controlling person, if you feel like a situation is unsafe, really trust that, okay? Because we all have free will in this situation. We all get to choose our divine destiny. And I do feel like you're busting out of something that what I heard is you never should have been in the first place. And that's not to put blame on you. That is, there's been forces at play here that this happened and allowed this to happen, and now it's like, no more, you're breaking free, you're breaking out, you're breaking the friggin' mold, because no one can shape you, no one can mold you anymore. You're going to do that for yourself. You are a free mind, you are a free thinker, and you are going to use your power of speech and be a free speaker as well, my friends. So I hope this resonated. I know it was a lot and it was kind of heavy, and it wasn't what I was expecting either, but it's what it was. So this is what Spirit wants us to remember, that we stand up for our own justice, we see through the illusions, and we surround ourselves with peaceful, loving people, but we blow that fucking whistle wherever it's needed. Mwah. I love you all, and I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.